Hey, Little Rock Church, it's so good to be with you this morning. I've got a special guest. Kris Swiatocho is with us this morning. Good morning, Kris.
Good morning.
And for those who don't know you, could you kind of explain to us a little bit about who you are, your ministry, just anything that would be helpful for our people?
Well, everybody, I am so glad to join you, and I get to meet Ryland and hear a little bit more about what your church is doing. I'm in full-time ministry with my main focus is single and young adults, although I do women ministry, leadership ministry, that type of thing. But my heart is for those that are not married, primarily those that maybe one day would like to be married, those that are just going through life alone and are wanting to find ways of finding resources and be encouraged. And so I do retreats and conferences and webinars, and I do a lot of leadership training to help churches start singles ministries as well as singles ministries.
Oh, that's great. Well, as you know, this time is certainly tough. It's tough for everybody. It's just where everybody's finding a new normal of what it means to be quarantined. As you can see, I'm in my bedroom. I'm only going to the office about one day a week, just trying to stay safe and doing everything from home. But it has been a long time since I've been single, and so can you help? What are some of the challenges that seem to be unique to singles during isolation? What are you experiencing, and what do you think those of us in the broader body of Christ need to be aware of?
Well, the biggest challenges that we're seeing is that singles already, to some degree, were feeling isolated. Unless you're a part of a mega church that had a really big singles ministry, young adult ministry, a lot of them are feeling really isolated already. And then now you compound it with, now I have to stay home. A lot of singles live alone and they don't have that roommate, or they may not live, some young singles may still live with their family, but now we've created even more isolation, even more distance and disconnection. So without a church that is doing Zoom calls or freeconferencecall.com or Google Hangouts, if they're not doing some type of resource to connect their singles together, it's creating even more isolation. And when people are going through a crisis, I watched a wonderful webinar by Dr. Henry Cloud the other day. And when people are going through crisis, they react in different ways. And some react in kind of an anger, they're just, and you've seen them at Walmart. And some of them are reacting to where they completely have a meltdown and fall apart and can't function. And then some just kind of pull away. And we're seeing that within the singles community as well. Some of the singles are just, because they're not being connected via Facebook, they're not being connected, no one is reaching out to them, their pastor isn't reaching out to them, their maybe Sunday school teacher or small group leader isn't reaching out to them. They literally pull even farther back. And so that creates an even more isolation. The enemy speaks even more junk to them, and they feel even more disconnected. And so we know the number one solution to getting through a crisis is coming together and being able to connect to each other.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think you're exactly right about the devil loves things in the darkness and isolation, and sin loves to be in the darkness. And those thoughts of us, just you're exact. I think spot on. Well, what as someone who ministers to singles, what would you say to our people if they were here listening to you at a conference right now, especially those who are single? What would you say to encourage them?
Well, I love, you'll probably laugh at this, and some of you are listening to this will probably laugh, but there are days I really enjoy being single. There's a value to it. And there are days that not so good, especially, I tell a lot of singles, stop watching, especially ladies, stop watching chick flicks because you pine away at wanting someone. But almost 99.9% of all singles want to be married. And so, which makes this season right now, the virus, even harder, because if you're trying to build friendships and you're trying to get to know somebody, that's kind of put a damper. But it also may help you to slow down because you can't physically be with them right now. And so you have to build a little bit longer relationship, maybe using a product like Zoom or Facebook or that type of thing. But most singles want to be married. And I understand that. I get that. I desire marriage still. And I'm still praying that that's what God would want for me. But right now, my encouragement to single adults is to understand that God has you single or a young single for a reason, that there's a value in it, that you don't have to sit around waiting for Prince Charming or Princess Charming to come along. In the meantime, you can serve God. And so what I've been teaching, sharing with others in the past few weeks, as well as with myself, is we're in a particular type of season that we've never experienced before. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. You know, the word says, give us our day, give us this day, our daily bread, not our week, not our month. You know, thy word is a lamp unto my feet, not my yardstick. So what are we trying to do with what God has given us when we don't know what to expect or what to do for tomorrow? So what can we do today? How can we reach out? How can we talk to that person who's sitting at home and nobody has reached out to them? Go through your database, go through your Facebook page, go through your Instagram, and contact those people that say, hey, just checking in, seeing how you're doing. You know, have you eaten everything in your kitchen yet? You know, are you coming up with things to do that are not great, not healthy, but also helping them and encouraging them and saying, you know what, I'm just a phone call away. Why don't we check in with each other every couple of days? Why don't we check in with each other every week and just make sure that we're continuing the path that God has given us. But how can we use this season to change ourselves, to grow closer to God, and to that when we're out of this, we're going to be that much closer to Him and have even better and more peace about the direction that He's given us.
So helpful. I know for me at Little Rock Church, some of the singles that we have just embody all the things that you just said. They're just amazing people. The way they step up and step out, and it's unbelievable. Well, what resources do you know? You know, you're in this field much better probably than any of us are. What resources are available? What's your website? You know, I've been on it, but you know, what can our people go to? Because I know there's a lot of good stuff on there. You do a great job with that. What books do you recommend? Just open-ended. You know, yes. What resources do you know of?
Well, my website is thesinglesnetwork.org. That's THE, singlesnetwork.org. It's the largest website for single adult, young adult ministry that I know of. I've been working on it for 20 years of building resources, everything on how to start a singles ministry, to grow in a ministry, to dealing with difficult people, creative ways to do fun things, understanding. There's videos on, I mean, literally everything you think of: single parent ministry, divorce recovery, grief recovery, articles, other people's videos. I also highlight other pastors and churches and things. And then also my personal peace speaking schedule, which of course right now is taking a little dip. Nobody's going anywhere. I'm having to speak through Zoom instead of actually physically going. But that's okay too, because you know what? The message hasn't changed, Ryland. The mission hasn't changed. And so I'm encouraged to hear that your singles are doing a lot of the things. They already get it. They're serving. You know, singles ministry is not a church within a church. It is simply a gate to bring people into the church to help reach, you know, to help get them a part of the whole church. We want to be around marrieds and marrieds around singles. They need to see what we look like, that we don't have leprosy, that we don't cause problems in the church, that we are just as valuable and used by the kingdom, by the Lord, as anyone else. So resource-wise, go to the website. I'm doing my own singles Bible study on Wednesday nights, Eastern time. If anybody wants to join, go to my website, send me a message, and I'll give you the meeting information, because we don't want anybody by themselves. And I would just encourage anyone who's watching this is the biggest thing you can do is to contact somebody else to let them know that you're alone and that you need to stay connected. The enemy wants you by yourself. God does not. God didn't design us to be by ourselves. So maybe you haven't gotten the phone call you want or the email. Well, maybe it's your responsibility to reach out and talk to someone. And but get to my website, and you're welcome to email me, and I'll help you in any way that I can.
Oh, that is so helpful. Kris, thank you so much for sitting down. I think this is helpful. I think for a lot of people, it's going to spark some ideas. Everybody, I think most people in our congregation are kind of rethinking, what does ministry look like? What does connection look like? And so I think this conversation is going to be helpful for us in the coming weeks as we think through, you know, it is different than it used to be, and certainly different for those who are single. I want to thank you for being with us this morning. Little Rock Church, I'm going to put in the description of everything, whether you're getting to this through the podcast or you're on our YouTube channel or Facebook, I'm going to put Kris's website there on the description, so you can go to it, and her contact information is there if you want to follow up with her directly. So, Kris, thank you so much.
Can I add one other thing, Ryland, do you mind? So, you know, a lot of people are just wondering, you know, can they continue to do Bible studies? Can they continue to do, you know, learn and whatever? Of course we can. You know, I've got tons of Bible studies on my website or whatever. But one other challenge that we are seeing among older singles. And, you're a young fella and probably a lot of your singles are young, but people are really struggling with technology. We've lost a lot of people because they don't know how to use Zoom, and there's nobody to sit beside them to walk them through it. So if you can do one thing, if somebody in your group says, I just don't know how to use these programs, take that extra time to help them, because that's, again, another thing the enemy does. And that's just one more thing that we're seeing is people not joining in. It's because they don't know how to use the technology.
Oh, wow. That I hadn't thought about that. That's a really good one of those barriers that people would have. So certainly. Well, Kris, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.